Welcome to the FSF Popcast live show. Hello, kids and cadets. Welcome to the FSF Popcast live at 5. We are very excited to have you guys here to review the Acolyte episode 5, which aired last night on Disney+. Now, before we get into this, we want to just make sure that you guys are all aware that if you haven't watched episode 5, there will be spoilers. We're going to get into that a little bit stronger here in a moment, but this episode last night, episode 5, was top shelf Star Wars. I think for a lot of us, it's been what we were waiting for in this series. And yeah, I am very, very, very excited about it. There's a whole conversation going on between John and Kathleen in the chat. I'm not putting any of that on screen, but
we got to monetize somehow. Anyway.
It's a conversation about pants and how much money you can make without them. I'll just let your fingers do the talking for the rest of that.
Okay. Can I divert for just a moment?
Sure, why not?
Have you ever played the Star Wars pants game? Where the key to Star Wars is that you take any line of dialogue, you remove a noun, and you put pants in its place. I find your lack of pants disturbing.
No, but I've played that game with taking a line of dialogue out and replacing it with sausage, and that gets interesting too.
Oh,
we
got to give him more time.
Right, I find your lack of bacon disturbing.
Oh, that's just sad.
Things along those lines. So I played that version of it.
Okay,
the pants one might be fun too. So
we should do that sometime.
We should. That'd be fun.
All right.
But hey, before we get into this real quick, we have a couple quick notes. Now, if you guys know that on our website at fsfpopcast.com/contact, if you haven't signed up there already, you need to go do that because you have opportunity to win things every month. We have a monthly giveaway. This month, we're giving away physical copies of one movie and digital copies of another. So our digital copy movie is this one right here called Shadowland. We have 5 digital codes to give out for this movie. So if you haven't applied yet, and once the thing is, once you sign up for our giveaways, you're automatically entered for every giveaway going forward. It's the gift that keeps on giving. So you have opportunity to win over and over again. But this movie here is called Shadowland, and it's haunted by nightmares of an assassination. A former president uncovers a conspiracy to discredit his legitimacy. Together with his advisor, they race to expose the truth, avert a global crisis, and vindicate his presidency. Starring Jon Voight, Shadowland is available to buy on digital now. Rated R from Republic Pictures. And then also, if you go to fsfpopcast.com/contact, and if you sign up, this is the one that we have 5 physical copies of, and we'll be sending those out here very soon. But you'll want to sign up for that. And this is the Bob Marley movie. Bring home Bob Marley One Love, now on 4K disc and digital. Celebrate the life and music of an icon who inspired generations through his message of love, peace, and unity. Buy the film critics are calling the perfect movie at the perfect time. And get over 50 minutes of behind-the-scenes footage and deleted scenes. Available at participating retailers. Buy Bob Marley One Love on 4K disc and digital today. Rated PG-13 from Paramount Pictures. So again, we have a drawing coming up for these things this upcoming Friday, and you have opportunity to win either a digital code or a physical movie. And the physical movie will only be shipped to the United States, however. So international shipping rates get a little expensive it's a little crazy for that. But anyway, go to fsfpopcast.com/contact, sign up. And like I said, it's the gift that keeps on giving. You'll have fun with that. But that's not why we're here.
Nope.
And that's not why you're here.
Nope.
We're here to talk about Star Wars, the Acolyte. And yeah, One Love, One Life. I know. No, that's you too, Kathleen. That's not Bob Marley.
She's a kid.
Well, this is also true. Yeah. This is also true. But anyway. Yes, we are going to talk about the sexy Sith.
We're getting to
him. We're not quite there yet, but so yeah. All right. Again, so last chance. If you haven't watched episode 5, from this point forward, there will be spoilers about episode 5. The episode was entitled Night. If you haven't watched it,
keep watching. Yeah. Watch the episode later. Watch us.
Yeah. So, but this is your a chance to know. Spoilers ahead. So first thing we wanted to talk about was this here helmet.
Yes.
Uh, the man who is I mean, we know his name is Khmer, but we don't know what his Sith name is, or if he is actually a Sith. He may not be. He may not be, guys. Just hold on to that a second. But I have taken to calling him Smilo Ren. That's the name I've chosen. That or Darth Molar. I haven't really gone with.
I've seen Smilo Ren a lot of other places, so we can stick with that one for right now.
I kind of like it. It's fun. Let's see. Kathleen says, "What's worse is even the song was Ziggy Marley." Ooh, sorry about that.
And Spiders no, the Ziggy Stardust. Wow,
anyway, we're all over the place. Yeah. All right, so we wanted to talk about this helmet and what it's made out of. Because last night while watching the episode, I was watching it with my nephew, and we both were trying to figure out what the metal was that this was able. We're hold on, we're getting there, because we're watching lightsabers glance off of it. He has apparently the same thing on like a bracelet here on his arm, on his left arm rather, and he was able to deflect sabers with that. And in my mind, the only metal that I knew of was Beskar. So I was like, man, is this like a cursed Beskar, or is this, something along those lines where, it's able to deflect the saber? And John said, no, that is not it. What is it, John?
It's cortosis. It's this very rare metal. It's only found on 2 planets that I can't remember the name of in current lore, but it actually like absorbs energy and like momentarily shorts out lightsabers. So it's
right,
because it's so rare, it's incredibly dangerous, since most Jedi don't know it exists, which you could see their utter confusion of what the heck just happened to my lightsaber?
Why is it just a heavy looking flashlight now?
Yeah, it kind of reminded me like when your car stalls out on the highway and you're like, wait, what? Why no go?
I push pedal, it no go.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But
I push button, it no vroom. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's only shown up in a couple places. First in the iJedi novel back in the old Legends EU. Great book. Way better than the books that it was based on. But also in the Thrawn novelization from 2018, it's mentioned in there.
Okay.
So, it's a known element. I appreciate that they threw it in there without having to like make a big deal about it. It's just there. It's a background element.
Right.
The world is built. We're just playing with it. Headbutting your enemy's blade as it's coming at your head was one of the most badass things I've seen in a while.
Right? I was like, did he just? I hit because we're watching it on a Roku TV, and I was like, and that's the 10-second back button because I want to see that again.
Yeah, I was using the 10-second back button so much, like my Disney Plus was locking up. Wait, I gotta see that again. Wait, no, I need to go back 20 seconds and just
right. Yeah,
I had to restart the Roku because I was backing things up too much. Kathleen's like, can we just watch the show?
We are my way.
Yeah,
we're watching it my way.
Yeah, but that was just insane the way he used his head literally in his fighting. Usually you lose a headbutt every time you throw one, but he was making it work.
Yeah, I was not sure what exactly he was doing there, and then I wasn't sure how he was shorting it out, and then I kind of went back and watched it a little bit again, and I was like, oh, it's something with the metal. And that's what my nephew and I were both like, okay, so it's got to be Beskar. But I'm like, I've never seen Beskar short out a lightsaber before, so that explanation actually helps me. Because that's why I was like, maybe it's a cursed Beskar somehow.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe that coven of witches cursed it somehow.
Coven.
I know. I said coven just for the benefit of you, John.
Oh,
just so I could watch you hang your head in shame.
I'm going to do that a lot this year. Anyway.
Okay. So but that's the explanation of the metal.
Yep.
And this guy. So the revelation of who he actually was not that big of a surprise.
No.
Yeah, and I forgot to put an actual picture of his face in here. or his arms, which
Oh my-
Kathleen will be very disappointed in.
Yeah.
But yeah, the sexy Sith. And if there is so much talk on the internet today about this dude's arms, Manny, I think his last name is pronounced Jacinto. But yeah, that dude is ripped.
Yeah.
And he played that role amazingly. I thought he did a really good job with that.
It was great. Yeah, his fighting style was just remarkably brutal, you know.
Very centered.
Right. Yord mentions like he doesn't follow any rules of combat. He just, well, no, he's not going to follow your rules of combat. He's there to headbutt your lightsaber off and then kill you. Sometimes stab one guy and force pull another guy onto the same blade.
Right?
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Darth Maul's got nothing on this guy.
Careful, John.
Hey, Maul focused too much on his weapon and didn't think about the other techniques available.
John.
What?
Thin ice, buddy.
Hey, if we could get the two of them in a room together.
I would remove you from the screen, but you have admin abilities and can put yourself right back on here. So, okay, I screwed that one up. All right, but but yeah, the whole fighting style, and we mentioned this on Threads, but we need to get Master Alan from Level Up Sabers on to talk about the fighting style, the Level Up Saber Master to talk about the lightsaber battles. Yes,
they're better than a stick.
They are better than a stick. But yeah, and you can find a link to Level Up Sabers in our show notes down below. Go buy yourself a lightsaber. It'll be lots of fun. Cool. Yeah. So, but there's other interesting things. You mispronounce words to bug John. John fights back. Who's surprised? I'm not surprised, Kathleen. I just didn't expect it to come that fast. Nobody. The answer is nobody. Exactly.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
But there are other things about this guy. In the next slide, we're going to kind of talk about this a little bit because we mentioned this last week. We're going to bring it up again this week. I think with his helmet, and if you look very closely at it, you see some lines that are very similar to what we saw in the sequel trilogies. I think that we're having something to do with the Knights of Ren.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah, especially when in the last few seconds of the show, Kylo Ren's musical motif is played while he's on screen. I'm taking that as a hint. I'm willing to be wrong.
Right.
Couple things about his behavior too, like a Jedi might call me a Sith. Well, yeah, you might do something, but you could be wrong.
Right. Well, that's why I said earlier, hold off on the whole naming of the Sith thing, because a lot of people. I read a couple articles today where they said that he goes out of his way to identify himself as a Sith. I'm like, actually, no, he didn't. He said, "You might call me a Sith."
Right.
Which leaves, in my opinion, a whole room of possibilities to what he could be.
Yeah. Well, I will say that the character is a psychopath.
Oh, for sure.
For
sure.
Referring to Jackie as an it.
Yeah.
Like she was like a person was just a thing.
Was that its name?
Yeah. And you brought her here.
Oh, yeah.
It's your fault she's dead.
Right. You brought her here. Yeah.
But then
the absolute emotional disconnect that he has from anything, and the level of non-responsibility that he has to anything that's happened there, is outstanding. And if you want a bad guy, I want bad guys in one of two ways. I either want them to be maniacal or psychopathic. And he's a little bit of both.
Yes.
And I think delightfully so in both realms. He's been built, the character I think has been built pretty well up to this point. And look, it was through the first 3 episodes, it was pretty obvious that he was going to end up being this guy.
Yeah.
But even when the helmet came off, I was still like, oh, it is him. All right, cool. The revelation wasn't like, oh, yeah, I knew who that was. It was still a cool revelation.
Yeah.
That because Star
Right.
Wars has been known to kind of like do the wave the hand over here and punch you with this one, you know.
Right.
And so I was kind of thinking that maybe we might get one of those, but I was happy that there was that.
Yeah. Actually, one of my favorite things that he does is, when the Jedi ask him, well, shouldn't you be hiding, or and he just like tips his head to the side. I wore a mask. Like
Right?
like, okay, he's crazy, and he's probably my favorite character this year. Like,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
Yeah, love him.
The responses back to Master Soul, which I'm gonna go ahead and change slides here just real quick because we're talking about some of the lightsaber fights and the duels, and we also need to say the high level of emotional damage in this single episode was amazing. And his responses to Master Soul were just kind of top notch. Like we said before, you brought her here and I wore a mask. Like,
yeah, like, not like I've got my face on a billboard here,
right? Exactly. But there's also a couple things that he says to Master Soul that during one of these fight scenes that really make me wonder what we're going to find out in the next couple episodes, because he says, what master hides his face from his pupil? And he just turns his head and goes, "You tell me."
Yeah, there's something going on there that we don't know yet.
Right. And they're dragging this out. I think the next episode, I honestly think episode 6 is going to be a flashback episode. We're going to go back to Breadnought. I know it's not the name, but I like calling it Breadnought because it's funny in my head. But
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
So something I've really loved about this episode in particular is, I don't know if you remember about 25 years ago when everybody and their brother was trying to make a Star Wars fan film.
Yeah.
And they all had to do with multiple Jedi fighting a single Darksider in the woods. Because that was the most Star Wars looking location most people in North America could find.
Correct.
And so, like, this was, and this is not a criticism, this is the best fan film I've ever seen.
Yeah.
The sabers are top notch. The choreography is amazing. The music is, oh my God, amazing. Just everything about it was great. This is what everybody was trying to do a quarter of a century ago, and wow, I feel old now.
Yeah, way to bring that up. Did you take your Advil today? I need to go check my. Yeah.
My insurance company about my arm. Anyway,
we're talking about Star Wars and lower back pain. So, but yeah, so I mean that's actually a really good note there, because I hadn't even thought about that. But even now with the fan films are made, majority of the fight scenes are out in the woods. Yeah.
So now everybody's going to try to top this.
Yeah. So again, lots of emotional damage. Out of the 3 people we see on the screen, there's probably only one of them left.
Yep.
Yord is officially bye-bye woohoo see ya.
Oh my God, that was
the way. Yeah, I did not expect him to die, but that he flew, because he flew in with the helmet, right? And he was going to just crush him with the helmet. I'm like, yeah, this is really cool.
Yeah.
And the way Kamir gets behind him and then like snaps his neck, I was like, oh, well, he's done.
I'm pretty sure that's the most hardcore murder we've seen in Star Wars.
I was like, Yord does not have enough plot armor, and the Yord Horde, as they call themselves, is not doing well today on social media. They are having a rough go, knowing that their man Yord is 86th. He's done. However, Master Soul is still alive, and the other one is Jecki,
and who I like how they got around the everybody survives a single lightsaber stab now.
They gave her 3. She got 3 all at once. I was like, oh, that can't be
both
good.
Lungs and the heart. Okay, we're good. Yeah.
You're good. Yeah, that was just like all up and down one side. I was like, that's Yeah. The bad thing about this is, if she does survive, we're going to be back to the same old controversy of what happens to a lightsaber. You know, why are people surviving lightsaber stabs all of a sudden? B, I'm sad because she's actually one of my favorite characters this season. I was really enjoying Jackie. Really enjoyed her in this episode, especially her fight against May. And I was hoping that, you know, at least her and Soul would make it through. That was my hope, that her and Soul would make it through.
Yeah.
But when she started taking on Chimera, however you say his name, alone, Smilo Ren, as soon as she started taking on Smilo, I was like, oh, she's done.
Yep.
She's done. Yeah.
And she did a really good job. You know,
she did. She was holding her own for quite a while.
Yeah, using a saber that was way too big for her hand because she had the Wookiee saber.
Yeah, she had Kelnaka's. Yeah.
And then 2 sabers, you know.
Yeah, she did pretty good with the 2 saber battle. I thought it was interesting, though. I think it was Kelnaka's saber that she was using in the Shoto style, you know, the backward saber. She was,
right.
And that might have been the wrong choice for that. But, you know, hey,
but
what do I know? I'm not a saber dueling.
Right.
person.
And they did a really good job last week establishing that she knows how to use a weapon when she was doing her drills at the temple. She was faster, she was tighter than everybody else in the room. It's like, oh, she's been practicing a lot.
Yeah, maybe it was pretty clear that she knows what she's doing.
Oh, wait, she's dead.
Along with everybody else.
Yeah.
One of the best remarks that I saw on the internet was from somebody who I was having a respectful conversation with. It's a podcasting friend, but he did not like this episode.
Okay.
Like at all. And that's fine. To each their own. And he wasn't being a jerk about it. He wasn't being toxic about it. He was just like, he was asking people, like, you know, what was it about this episode that you liked? Because he was having problems finding redeeming. He's like, if the lightsaber battles are all that you find appealing about this episode, then there's other issues afoot. Right. But he didn't think the writing was very good. He was less than enthused about the revelation of Smilo Ren being who we thought he was, and all these different things. But I forgot where I was going with this. I got way off track. This is awesome.
Earlier, he said something. You were having that conversation about.
Those things were said.
Okay. We're a couple old guys in the retirement home now.
I might need 2 Advils tonight. To
remember, alcohol don't mix. Anyway,
well, this is true. I'm actually looking up the conversation.
But yeah, no, I mean, I thought she was a really good character. She was established well. She had a sense of humor. We saw her interact with Osha, you know, joking, laughing. They're making plans for, okay, so next time I'm in town, we're gonna trade some stories, you know, go for some drinks. She's reading May her Miranda rights, basically, with you're under arrest for this, you're under arrest for that, you're under arrest for this thing, and then she just met an untimely demise. That's what happens when you get in over your head in a fight with somebody who just killing Jedi.
I can't find the note, and I can't remember what I was going on about, so we're just going to leave that there and move along.
Okie doke.
But yeah, so Jackie is unfortunately no longer. But one of the other things that we, talking about Khmer and this whole fight, he finds May. He's there to kill May because, he knows that because of what we saw in episode 4, she told him that she was going to turn herself into the Jedi. She was shish kebabbed.
My wife.
Yeah, she was.
She wasn't as barbecued as Anakin, though.
No. Well, she was more of a rare. Anakin was well done. Yeah. So, but we get to this point where after the fight between Jackie and May, he's holding May there with the lightsaber to her head, and if Soul takes one move, he's putting the saber right through her head.
Yeah, this is not a hold you see very often in Star Wars.
No.
I think Anakin did it once in Clone Wars when he was going through a particularly dark time.
Yeah.
But
I think you're right.
Yeah, this is not a thing you see the good guys do.
No. and he's definitely not a good guy. We don't know that he's a Sith, but he's
Nope.
definitely not a good guy. He's definitely not a Jedi. He's made that clear that he is no Jedi, and he he proved that to Yord pretty darn well.
Yeah. Yeah, that was rough.
But and then we see May and Osa kind of get into it while he continues fighting with Master Soul and having their interchanges and the back and forth between them. And Osa still hasn't learned how to block a force push and gets shoved into some rocks and knocked out. And
Yep.
May even says that as she's standing over here in this scene. She says, you never could learn how to block.
Right.
And this is where it kind of gets a little bit interesting, because May cuts her hair, that she has that extra length of hair. She cuts it in one really kind of cool headbang move.
Yeah.
And now she takes Osa's clothes so that she looks like Osa.
Right.
And goes to follow Master Soul out of the jungle.
Right. Which so I have heard some people say, well, couldn't he sense a difference? Wouldn't he be able to tell that she was like closer to the dark side? The Jedi Council was in the room with Palpatine. Jedi can't detect crap.
The only issue I have with this, and I'm thinking that they better explain it somehow next week. The only physical differences between Osa and May was the length of hair.
Mm-hmm.
May resolved that one.
Yep.
But she's got the marking on her forehead that Osa does not have.
Right.
Because May was brought into that coven. Are you happy? Coven.
Thank you.
Of witches on Breadnought.
Uh-huh.
And and when that happened, she received the mark on her forehead. Yep. However, Osa backed out of that as the Jedi came in. Yep. She never received it. So the thing that where I'm struggling, this is one of the criticisms I have with the episode, and I'm hoping that, and it's a minor one, but I'm hoping, can I say Osa right now?
Osha. It's not Osa. It's Osha.
I thought you thought is it Osha?
Yes.
I thought the H was. I've heard it. I've heard it wrong then, because I thought it was like the H was silent and it was Osa.
That's why the right before in the Coven had guardrails. They had Osha.
Again, I wish I hadn't given you admin responsibilities and I could just remove you from the page right
you
now.
Love me.
That's not the point. Anyway, but anyway, Osha does not have that. Yeah, exactly, Alan. Grown. And
Osha has a tattoo on her arm,
which I don't know that May has.
I don't think she does.
So I'm wondering. Like I said, this is really of the two things that I did not like about this episode.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of them, and because I was like, all you got to do is look at them and at their forehead, and you should be able to see the marking and go, oh hey, you're May, not Osha, and so
and I can't come on the ship. Burnt hair.
Right, that shouldn't go away.
Right, that's the flingers.
Right. Look, I was a bit of a pyro as a kid. I've burned enough of my arm hair, nose hair, and eyebrows off to know what burnt hair smells like and how long that smell sticks around. Trust me, I don't think if you cut your hair off with a lightsaber, it's going to be much different. You're going to have that wonderful smell of burnt hair for a while.
Yep.
So, yeah, I need a better explanation of this, what's happening here, because this to me is one of those things where, and maybe it's just because it hasn't been explained yet. And how do we fix things, John?
More Star Wars.
I need more Star Wars to fix this answer. And I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. But this was one of the things that bugged me last night. I was like, how do you not know that's May?
Right.
You just look at her forehead. It's May. You can, even as she's standing there talking to Soul, you can see the rings on her forehead. I'm like, it's May. Come on. Mm-hmm. And so that did bug me last night.
Yep.
And the other thing that bugged me, since we're already talking about things that bug me, I'm just gonna steer right into it. Was the runtime. Loved the episode. The pacing was great. The storytelling was great. They left 12 minutes on the table. And that bugs me.
Okay.
That 12 minutes could have been used to answer some of the questions. That 12 minutes could have been used for further exposition. You know, the problem I have with this is that if we're only going to get 8 episodes, I either want them to be a consistent 28 minutes a piece so that I know what I'm walking into. A half-hour episode, cool. All right, I can live with that, and I'm good with that.
Yep.
But I also don't think it's. I hate it when it's like, oh, we got a 54-minute episode. Oh, and we got a 30-minute episode. We got a 48-minute episode. Oh, we got a 27-minute episode.
Yeah.
Just I would like to see better consistency in the episode lengths. This is the same argument or issue I had with Ahsoka, I've had with Mandalorian, I've had with Book of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan Kenobi series. There needs to be a consistency of episode length. That and I think part of that problem is that we're not on network television. There isn't commercial breaks that they have to plan for. They don't have to plan for an hour-long episode for it to be 42 minutes, for a half-hour episode for it to be 21 minutes. All these different things. They're able to do what they want because it's on a streaming service. I get that, but it still bugs me. But that's enough of my complaint. That's all that I got, because the rest of the episode was freaking amazing. Right. So anyway.
Yeah, those would be my complaints too. It's like, I just want more Star Wars. Can we get another 10 minutes of Star Wars?
Right. And that's what I feel. As good as that episode was last night, and as excited as I was, and I loved the ending, and I was like, oh my God, this is great. I was also like, man, I got robbed of 10 minutes of Star Wars. So anyway, but as we got to that ending, now we see this, we talked about this, they played Freaky Friday switcheroo here between the two. The only person or creature or thing that seems to be aware of what's really going on is this little guy here, Basil, the scout. He can sniff it. He can smell it. And he is walking cautiously after them.
He can smell the burnt hair. That's what it is. Everybody else's allergies were acting up. Their noses are plugged. Basil's like, she don't smell right.
Kathleen, you're correct. It is Parent Trap, not Freaky Friday. Freaky Friday would be the parent and the child.
Yeah.
But this is Parent Trap where the twins switch.
Yeah.
So they parent. Yeah.
But the problem is, the only one that understood Basil was Yord.
Yeah,
because he didn't study Shiruk. He studied Tynan.
Yeah, whatever the language was of this little fellow.
And so, I mean, he could communicate with Basil. Now what do you do? I mean, unless you get a protocol droid next episode.
Well, and I'm pretty sure the only thing that could have otherwise translated what was about to be said was Pip, and Pip was attached as a light to the back of Khmer so they could get away.
Yeah.
So, Pip missing some pieces. Pip got popped.
Basil picked up part of Pip. Well, that was
he did.
So maybe he can put Pip back together, Humpty Dumpty the situation, and
possible. It all depends on if May brought the rest of Pip with her when she took Osha's clothing.
Maybe. We'll have to find out next week.
Same time, same channel.
Look, the answer is again, more Star Wars.
More Star Wars. It's amazing how often that actually comes back around where the answer is more Star Wars. Because every week we're like, man, there's these open-ended questions. I wonder what they're going to say next. Well, I guess we'll find out next week with more Star Wars.
Yeah.
So,
how is this a bad plan?
It's not a bad plan. It's a great plan. I get more Star Wars. But, so the great thing is we're ending this episode with the fact that I think that, and you pointed this out in our notes back and forth between us in the messenger, is that the audience knows that the things that are going to happen that the characters don't yet. We know that there's something coming.
Right. And that's the thing is, we've seen this stuff. The Jedi Council don't have cameras following these characters around, transmitting back to, the old folks' home.
Right.
They need somebody to send them the information. So if Soul doesn't send them a transmission, they're not going to know.
Right. There's only one other person other than Soul who's left alive, other than Osha and Soul right now, who know what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Master Venestra.
Right.
And she is not going to report it to the High Council. She's the only, and this actually answers the Kiadamundi issues from a couple weeks back.
Yeah.
Why he was there, actually last week's episode of why he
Mhm.
was there, and oh, that breaks canon. It didn't break canon. And it kills the lore. It didn't kill the lore. You know, this actually answers it right there. See, guys, wait a week, you get answers from
Mhm.
more Star Wars. The
Yeah.
answer is that there's only two people, a total of three people that know really what's going on here. Two only know what they faced, and one of them is back at the Jedi Council building of the temple, and is probably not going to get a transmission, a report from either of the two that are alive. So the fact that Ki-Adi-Mundi says in Phantom Menace that the Sith have not been around for millennia
Yeah.
still holds true, because chances are he's not going to know it, and it's not going to get reported to the High Council.
Right. Now, like, to give Ki-Adi-Mundi some credit in Phantom Menace, if I called you up and was like, hey, Tim, on my way home tonight, I got in a sword fight with a Knight Templar.
I
What?
would ask how much you had to drink.
Exactly. Something that hasn't been around for 1,000 years. And I'm saying, oh,
Right.
yeah, I just ran into this, in the middle of the street.
Sure, you did, John.
Right,
Sure,
exactly.
sure. Exactly, Kathleen. It's that is one of the best things about sci-fi. You can answer with more stories about that sci-fi. You fix a
Yeah.
plot hole. Yeah, I write another story about the said plot hole, and ta-da, we're good to go.
See, that character didn't know this story had happened, so therefore he wasn't wrong. He was just uninformed.
Exactly. Yeah, Ki-Adi-Mundi didn't. We're going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he was not informed. He was not privy to the things that Vernestra knew, that Soul knew, and that Ocean knew.
Right.
So, because even in that room when they showed the hologram, he was like, he was clueless as to what was going on.
Right. Oh, there's a guy using a lightsaber.
Yeah, that was the extent of it. That was it right there.
Oh no, they didn't. It was May fighting, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
she had clearly been trained.
Right.
But yeah, so yeah, this episode 5, called Night, because last week episode 4, which left us with that big cliffhanger, was called Day. This was the completion of the 2-part arc, but it's not always complete either, because there's some things that need to be answered. So I'm looking forward to episode 6, which I do think will be a flashback episode, because I think we're going to have to, because now that May is with Soul, I think we're going to get a flashback to Brednock and see Brendock. That's the name of it. Brendock. I keep calling it Brednot in my head, and I think it's funny, but the problem is that screws up the actual pronunciation of Brendock when I'm trying to talk about it. So I think what we're going to see is we're going to see a flashback. We're going to see it from Soul's perspective, and we'll get to see what actually happened and why we went from a little tiny fire to lots of dead witches. So,
yeah. So I have one other theory about Smilo Ren. It's kind of off the wall. Okay. He's not a Sith. He's not a Knight of Ren. He's just a fanboy who found his great-grandfather's relics in the closet, kind of like some people that we might have gone to high school with who found their grandfather's stuff from when they moved here from Germany.
You mean like Kylo Ren did?
Yeah. Okay. And he's just, oh, this is cool. I'm going to pretend to be these guys, and I'm going to,
That's the point, Kathleen. That was the hope.
See, I'm hungry now.
Garlic bread.
I was hungry when I walked in here. I'm hungry now. Yeah, so he could just be like cosplaying the part, figured out how to do some stuff, from like great granddad's holocron, and just, and then
I am curious. Food in chat is cruel.
Yeah, but maybe the real Sith shows up and is like, you're kind of giving me a bad name, so I'm going to show you what we can really do. Snap.
Well, yeah, because he admits that there is a master, and all he wants, he wants a pupil, he wants an acolyte. So here's what I am curious about, though, and one of the other things I'm looking forward to in the flashback episode. Soul says to him, "There's something familiar about you," and then he replies back to him, "You don't remember?" So for a coven of women, of all female coven, where did he come from, and why does he know what's going on there, and why is he saying to Master Soul, "You don't remember"? There's something there, and we got to figure out why.
Or is he Soul's son? Because Jedi can participate in adult activities as long as they don't get attached.
I mean, oh no, he is not Cotton Eye Joe.
That song has issues.
We're not getting into those issues tonight. But anyway, yeah. So I think that's probably the best place to leave this. Is we have a lot of questions, and how do we get those questions answered? We get them answered with more Star Wars. And so next week, actually, I think over the next couple of weeks, we're going to get a nice resolution to the first part of this story, which will hopefully lead us to a second season of the Acolyte, because, you know, and I know there's a mixed bag out there right now, guys, with depending on what social media you're going to. It's either people think it's a dumpster fire, and if you like this show, that you're clearly, I've been called a beta male simp. I've been told that I'm a Disney shill, all these different things. I want to be hey, if I'm a Disney shill, I want some of that Mickey Mouse money. So we're not getting any of that, by the way.
Right.
But, and then there's those who like and are really enjoying the Acolyte. So there's a lot of hate out there right now. Ignore the haters. Go find your people. Go find your nerds. And it's okay to be critical of the show. It's not okay to be toxic.
That's right.
Critical means you're being a fan. Toxic means you're just being a jerk. And don't be a jerk. Let people like what they like. Let people dislike what they dislike. It is what it is, because at the end of the day, it's not their fandom, it's your fandom. So have fun with the show, and I hope we get more of it.
Yep.
So, and on that little note, I guess we could say goodbye.
I guess
I don't have anything else to talk about. I mean, I have other things to talk about, but you know,
we can save those for next week. Maybe we can do a special sometime. Random ramblings with him.
Well, that might be too random, but you know. And on that note, goodbye.
Copyright 2024 FSF Podcast. Reference to any specific product or entity mentioned on this podcast does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by FSF Podcast. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. If you have any questions about this disclaimer, please contact us via email at info@fsfpodcast.com.